10 things in Plants vs. Zombies 2 that makes no sense. Did you know that Red Stinger's projectile isn't affected by Torchwood fire? And did you know that Marigold can actually plant it in the game? Well, of course some of you don't know that. Today we are going to talk about things that doesn't make sense in Plants vs. Zombies 2. Before we start, please click that subscribe button, it's free and it will help me a lot. Number 1. Fire Breather Zombie is one of the most annoying zombie in Plants vs. Zombies 2. This zombie can breathe fire on plants in front of him. Unlike Explorer Zombie, this zombie can't instantly burn a walnut. Now that we know that it can use fire, one thing that can counter it is iceberg lettuce, as it can extinguish the flame from its beard. Did you know that if you time it correctly, when Fire Breather Zombie is blowing fire, its fire can also be frozen? To make this happen, if Fire Breather Zombie is using its fire, immediately use iceberg lettuce on it. Well, this doesn't make any sense at all. Well, technically, fire can't be frozen, even if you goggle it. It says you can't freeze fire in the same way that you can't freeze gas. There is another thing that I'd like to mention. If you use Ice Bloom on a Fire Breather Zombie while it's using its fire, the Fire Breather Zombie can be ice blocked and the fire is also included in it. Number 2. In Plants vs. Zombies 2, there's something really odd about the Red Stinger plant. You see, normally, when a pea from a regular plant gets near the Torchwood, it turns into a fiery projectile. But for some reason, this doesn't happen with the Red Stinger's projectiles. It's quite puzzling. It's almost as if these two plants have some sort of disagreement or don't work well together. Even if you use plant food on Torchwood, nothing will happen. It doesn't make sense at all. Number 3. Another strange occurrence in Plants vs. Zombies 2 involves the Jester Zombie and Torchwood combination. Here's how it goes. When a Jester Zombie reflects a pea projectile, and as soon as Jester Zombie receives the projectile, plant Torchwood in front of it, the pea turns into a fiery projectile. But here's where it gets even weirder. These fire-infused peas can actually damage the zombies. The only explanation I can think of is that Torchwood taught that the projectile is coming from split pea, so the peas that passes through Torchwood can damage the zombies. Number 4. Now, I don't know if this is a visual glitch or something else, but it's common knowledge that when a zombie dies, it should have a death animation. All zombies typically have a specific death animation, except when they are transformed by magic, like Witch Hazel's attack, or when transformed into an imp by Imp Pear. However, there's something interesting about Prospector Zombie in this regard. During the jump of Prospector Zombie, you can actually damage it. Just be mindful that you only have a second to time it correctly. So, during its jump animation, use a plant food on Imp Pear, and an imp will summon in the middle of Prospector Zombie's jump animation. The real body of Prospector Zombie will continue to jump to the last column and instantly die upon landing. Well, it makes no sense at all. Number 5. This one is very similar to the previous one. You see, Solar Sage is a plant that can transform zombies into enlightened zombies. Solar Sage is one of the unique plants added in 2021. Most of the newly added plants have bugs or errors, just like Sea Flora, as it doesn't have an idle animation and freezes when there is no zombie in its lane. I'm at the top. Well, the same thing happens with Solar Sage. This occurs when you only encounter Punk Zombie. Just take note that punk music is playing when doing this. Before the Punk Zombie reaches the first column, immediately plant Solar Sage in front of it. You can see that Solar Sage is kicked by the Punk Zombie, but here's where it gets weirder. The Punk Zombie is transformed into an enlightened zombie even though Solar Sage is completely kicked out of the lawn, which doesn't make any sense. Number 6. If you've ever encountered a Bramble Bush, you probably noticed that it can remove the armor from zombies, just like the Buckethead Zombie. When the Buckethead zombie is affected, it transforms into a regular zombie. This effect is especially noticeable when it encounters a Brickhead zombie. There is one particular zombie that you might consider trying it on. Surprisingly, it is entirely possible to remove the shovel from the excavator zombie, just like with the other zombies. Here's how it happens. When you use the Bramble Bush on the excavator zombie and trap it, quickly dig up that plant. Now you have an excavator zombie without a shovel. Here's where it gets complicated. A shovel-less excavator zombie is considered a normal excavator zombie. So when it encounters any underground plants, the excavator zombie will eat them instead of just walking past. You can actually hear the sound of the shovel, even though it's eating without holding one. And the distance of the excavator zombie is quite noticeable. Number 7. Keeping at least one delaying plant is one of the most common strategies that players can employ. Using an iceberg lettuce, in particular, can make clearing levels much easier since this plant is capable of freezing zombies and rendering them defenseless. However, while using the iceberg lettuce in almost every level, I noticed something about the interaction between this plant and certain zombies. When you freeze a barrel roller zombie, you can actually plant spikeweed directly underneath the barrel it's pushing. Strangely, the spikeweed doesn't seem to affect the barrel at all. The barrel only breaks when the frozen effect wears off. This doesn't make any sense. Number 8. Shrinking a strong zombie is the best way to counter high-health zombies, and this strategy applies to gargantua zombies. When you shrink this zombie, not only does its health decrease, but the accompanying imp also disappears. Now, let's talk about shrinking zombies in general. Logically, a shrunken octo zombie should throw a shrunken octopus. If we just use our brain. However, in reality, a shrunken octo zombie throws a normal-sized octopus instead. The same inconsistency occurs with the hunter zombie. Even though the hunter zombie is shrunk, the snowball it throws remains normal-sized. I'm not quite sure what to say at this point. Number 9. The Camel Zombie is the first zombie that appears in a group, and as mentioned, camel zombies never come alone. Now, let's discuss some things that don't make any sense regarding this zombie. The Camel Zombie is considered as one group of zombies, so when you freeze the mummy zombie at the front with an iceberg lettuce, all of the camel zombies will also be frozen. The same principle applies when the mummy zombie with the front sign is slowed down, all of the camel zombies will also slow down. Another thing is that when the mummy zombie with the front sign is pushed back, the mummy zombie with the front sign will just stand at the back, for no reason. Another thing is, if you use the power toss on the mummy zombie with the front sign and toss it ahead, this zombie will wait for the remaining part. One last thing, when there is a sweet potato or hot date in an adjacent lane, and the mummy zombie with the front sign switches lanes due to these plants, the remaining camel zombies in that lane will idle and wait for the mummy zombie with the front sign to finish eating that plant before continuing to walk. This absolutely makes no sense at all. Number 10. The Heatseeker works similarly to the plant food effect of the homing thistle, but it is much stronger. However, there is a zombie that can cause a glitch with its projectile, and that zombie is none other than the pterodactyl. Well, zombies are temporarily immune to damage before the pterodactyl drops them on the left of the lawn. So when you timed it correctly, before the pterodactyl carries a zombie. Plant a Heatseeker and its projectile will circle on that zombie before the pterodactyl drops the zombie. I don't know it's counted as doesn't make sense, but for me it is. That is all for today's video. Thank you for watching, and see you on the next one.